Hi, my name's Kimberly, but my friends call me Barry. I'm 19, and I have a boyfriend. His name is Ted. He's 3 years older than me. We've been dating for over 2 years. Just recently, Ted proposed to me. Of course, I was over the moon with happiness. I already started planning out where the ceremony would take place, what kind of wedding dress I wanted, where we would go on our honeymoon, and everything was fine. But one night, when Ted and I were discussing our future life, he told me about his unusual desire. I was very surprised at first, but then I realized he would suggest something like this sooner or later. You want to know what my boyfriend did on the eve of our wedding? Then make sure you watch this video to the end, and don't forget to like it. First things first, Ted and I met in a nightclub when I was just 17. I guess you're wondering how I got into a club underage. It's simple. One of my friends had a birthday. She turned 20. She decided to take us all to a very famous nightclub. She wanted it to be a gift to herself and to us. Besides, famous bands usually played in that club. Apparently, one of the security guards was a good friend of hers. She greeted him at the entrance with a friendly smile and kissed him on the cheek. Then he let us all into the club without even asking our age. It was my first trip to a nightclub ever, so I looked around with curiosity. Everything seemed so bright and beautiful to me. I was so delighted, and I didn't even hide it. We took a table right in front of the stage and waited for the band to come out. The waiter came up to us to take our order. He shared that night, a very cool cover band was playing. They performed the most popular songs. Most of the club visitors were girls, and they even came specifically to watch the band performance. Because whenever they played, they always blew up the crowd. Everyone rushed to the dance floor after their first song. After such advertising, we started to look forward to the band's performance. And when the stage lights went out and the audience erupted in cheers, I knew something really cool was about to start. And so it did. My friends and I rushed to the dance floor. We were so close to the stage, so I could see the musicians very clearly. I understand this sounds quite trivial, but the cutest and coolest among them was the lead singer. He had a cool voice, gorgeous appearance, and he was very charming. I wouldn't be lying if I said I couldn't take my eyes off him the whole time. By the way, I caught his glances back in my direction. I knew I wouldn't have the courage to approach him after the concert, so I hoped he would do it himself. He probably had a whole army of fans, and it was unlikely a schoolgirl would ever interest him. That's what I thought when the concert ended. My friends and I decided to stay in the club a little longer. Then we would go to the birthday girl's place to have a pajama party. But I had to change my plans a little. The lead singer of the band did come up to our table. He said if I didn't mind, he would like to ask me out for a walk. You already guessed it was Ted, didn't you? I was very happy. Of course, I agreed. I apologized to my friend, but she was definitely not upset with me. Because after the concert, I kept on saying how much I liked Ted. While we were walking, we were getting to know each other. That day, I found out Ted was 3 years older than me. He was studying law at the university. He spent his free time singing in his cover band and earning extra money. This was a great hobby and a good source of income for a young man. The guys from the cover band were his friends and college mates. He'd known one of them, Nick, since he was 5. Their parents worked together. Then they bought houses next to each other. They always liked music. Nick learned to play the guitar, and Ted learned to play the piano. When they got older, they decided to create a cover band to perform at school concerts. They found a drummer and a bass player and started practicing in the school gym in the evenings. Their first performance was a real success. After that, people started inviting them to perform at different parties. Everyone loved their music. When the boys graduated from high school, Ted and Nick went to the same college. Their cover band continued. Other musicians came and went, only Ted and Nick remained. They had almost become like brothers over the years of their friendship and music career. But let's get to the point. Anyway, after the very first night we met, Ted immediately asked me to be his girlfriend. I agreed without hesitation, because I fell in love with him right at the concert. We started dating. I got to know the guys in the group better, especially Nick, who often went out with us. Sometimes he hung out at Ted's place when I came to visit him. I was even a little stressed. I wanted to spend as much time as possible with my boyfriend. And there was always somebody between us who frankly interfered in our relationship. And then I came up with a brilliant plan. That's what I thought. I decided to introduce Nick to my best friend. He didn't have a girlfriend, and Ashley kept on complaining to me that she couldn't find a boyfriend and she was so unlucky with guys. So one evening, we invited Nick and Ashley to our place. We introduced them and happily watched them. It became clear they liked each other at first sight. Less than a week later, a happy Ashley called me and told me Nick had asked her out. My clever plan worked. Now Nick was much less likely to be at Ted's house. He was always hanging out with Ashley. Ted and I could happily enjoy our relationship, hugs and kisses, without anyone else being around. But since Nick and Ted were still best friends, and me and Ashley too, the four of us often hung out. We would go somewhere for the weekend, have a barbecue or a movie marathon through the whole Marvel universe. I liked such evenings. Double dates were always fun, so I was glad I had a boyfriend and wonderful friends. 2 years later, Ted and Nick graduated from college. They both got a job in the same profession, but they never stopped playing in the band and giving concerts. By the way, when I graduated from high school, I moved to Ted's place, after my parents gave me their permission. His apartment was closer to the university I went to. Sometimes we didn't even want to leave each other for a minute. So, like I said, 2 years later, Ted proposed to me. It was on my birthday. I found a small transparent box in my birthday cake. I opened the box and a ring was there. I was in seventh heaven. I knew I was still very young, but I was sure I wanted to spend the rest of my life with Ted. I didn't need anyone. Our friends were also truly happy for us. They started hugging and kissing us and congratulating us on our future wedding. 3 days later, a happy Ashley called me and said Nick also proposed to her and she agreed. That was news. I told Ted about it. It turned out he was aware of Nick's plans. They were best friends since they were kids. They even decided to do a marriage proposal almost on the same day. I thought it was pretty sweet. So I suggested to Ted we celebrate our engagements together. Like, we would go to the ocean and spend the weekend there. Throughout the trip, Ashley and I discussed what our weddings would be like. I wanted everything to be pink and white with balloons, delicate roses, and an open-air ceremony. Ashley loved bright colors. She wanted to be sure orange would be in her wedding, and the ceremony itself would be in a church, because she'd been dreaming about her wedding in a church since her childhood. When it was time to start planning the wedding, I decided to discuss everything with Ted first, then take over the organization. I wanted to do everything myself, without involving any specialists or agencies. In the evening, I met Ted after work with a delicious dinner, and I started talking about the wedding. But his first words surprised me, to put it mildly. Ted said he and Nick had already talked it over. They decided we would definitely have a double wedding. We are all best friends. We have a lot of mutual friends. That means we could save a lot of money on the wedding celebration. Besides, Ted and Nick had agreed even when they were kids, they would get married on the same day. Sort of a brotherly promise. That's why Nick proposed to Ashley a couple of days after we got engaged. On the one hand, I understood there was some logic in Ted's words, but I always wanted my wedding to be my day, where I would be the most beautiful girl, wearing a white wedding dress. Everyone would admire me, and my groom would look at me with eyes full of love. But now it turns out there would be 2 brides and 2 grooms. Hold on a second. I told Ted I wasn't sure whether it was a good idea, but he seriously said the matter had already been resolved. Ashley and I needed to work together to organize the party. But how? We have completely different tastes. Anyway, after that conversation, we had a fight. Our conversation about the wedding subsided. After talking to Ashley, I realized she wasn't happy with the idea either, but the boys were hard as nails. The appointed wedding date is getting closer. I don't know what we should do. Should I give in to Ted and arrange a double wedding? Or should I insist my wedding is just my wedding? What would you do if you were me? I would be grateful for your answers in the comments below. If you liked my story, click the thumbs up button. I advise you to subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. There are still many cool videos waiting for you. Bye, everyone.